But yeah, I'm just surprised that the Swain didn't end up moving a little bit sooner. His now, Jana, no flash.
Heal, flash, auto attack, first blood. Froggy is the one to pick that one up. And Evelyn Bot is in the area. Descent does drop the Rift Guard. They're going to look to engage. It's going to be a Cataclysm getting dropped down, but Vagar got pulled into the Cataclysm, which could be trouble.
Ooh.
Down goes Evelyn Bot. Down goes the Vagar as well. Hugs Descent and the support on the one side, but they're going to be the ones to get engaged on. Ultimate coming off for the Malphite onto the Vagar, but the Vagar is still okay for right now. He's going to try to flash the rest of his team as Evelyn Bot is on the panel. But look, the Caitlyn was left all alone on the backside, and no free hugs is now left all alone with everybody else from Farmingdale.
That's game!
Both of them are level 4. No Zillion bombs are available right now, which means French Delta Force is going to be able to get in. There's the flash, but the flag and drag lands, and El Unicornio in a lot of trouble. French Delta Force not able to get the kill. That one's going to go over to Huracan.
Oh, he's dead.
Quite know where he is. Has spotted him out. Here comes the Jarvan over the wall. Multiple members over the wall now as they're trying to get as much damage as possible. French Delta Force able to get the first kill. Now, bearing down on to the Xayah. They are going to get revived by the Zillion, but weak side. It just means they're a sitting duck to give more kills.
There's nothing.
Everything.
Yeah, they quite literally.
Malphite getting in there on multiple members here. Weak side is now starting to join the fight here. Somebody's in stasis, somebody's resurrecting, but it doesn't just matter. They're just all meant to die to Vagar. It's a double kill for weak side, a double kill for French Delta Force. They get a kill back.
Leave the old man alone!
But they are going to be able to close out onto the Zillion. The cherry on top for Froggy and Farmingdale State College.
Holding on to this stock at 160.
Oh yeah, both of these characters decently heavyweight, gonna be seeing very large percentages. And the back ear from that fat mansion to take it right there.
I see it too. Oh, good forward air tipper there. Hope should be able to recover from this unless you get countered. Dags with a huge opener there.
But Splat says, listen, I need you to get right back off stage. It's nice that you want to get here. You gotta go.
And the block, I think, actually helps Splat there. Again, falling because the second hit of that...
I didn't get to show out last time the way I wanted to. But I'll do it.
He's all warmed up now, but he will drop that stock this time around. Gordo up tilt, a week where they went to set number 3 and fell in that previous series.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, wow, what a down here. So that you can kind of slowly build up damage. And then your armored move will not connect with all the hits, so you won't get the kill. And then you die. Tries to go for a very early up B kill right there. And your shield looks like a Skittle, and that will be it. The forward smash should be able to take it and hope with the JV3 against Splat.
That I think if you can use Milkman to shut down a B-Rush, you're pretty happy with that, especially if they're rushing right in. Mental Athlete catches 2, looking for more. Chris will not be outdone. Make it 3 for Mental Athlete. Yeah, that was more. You're more than happy with that trade.
And that means no KJ utility either, no extra peaks. And there's a quick trade down. Hookah wins between the Omens. It's Ummo and uh-oh for Mars Hill, as that's going to be a Brooklyn College first map win. Players, just 1 shot left, probably 30 HP combined as Noodle gets traded. It's all up to Chris. Headshot necessary for Excite as he's trying to dance around the side, doesn't know where he's coming from. And Chris just barely secures it. I think 1 more second of stalling, and that's a Mars Hill round, so absolutely brutal. The concussion come through, flashpoints as well. This is an all-out brawl.
So much
ramp coverage. And everyone's here, and it's all looking good for Brooklyn, maintaining that weapons advantage, just rushing on in, and that's a flawless in this map point round. Suddenly surrounded, I think got shut down by a Rolling Thunder, and sure, Geiper's looking the wrong way, but that is a perfect defending half for Mars Hill for the win. Shot down, and that's gonna be an extra kill from the blast, and now it's just Geiper left after a flurry of kills. And no time to waste. There's too much on the clock. Lots of damage dealt, but only one taken down.
Trades on one on each. Knives finally come out, though. I could hear them. Didn't look like they caught anything, though. There's the flank. Axite with a stringer doesn't find anything now. But trades coming through. One on each. Chris continue to trade 2-2.
Oh, no.
Down. Finally, the picks on Pixie.
Oh!
That's it. MHU stays alive.
Another moment where you're worried for him. As Polo Spring gets that first blood. 2 members left. We've seen August come alive when moments required, but now with worse weapons and not quite the angle. That is a 13-10 win.
And, well, we're already underway. Yeah, that we are, and I'm just so happy to be here, of course. It's going to be Kilo Miles leading in on all the action, and I am Captain Ahsoka, going to be your co-host and commentator for today. And already, before we can even get the introductions done...
However, when iTheta gets the hit, then it's Nick Jam popped into the air, and that's no good. Especially when you're knocked off stage. Nick Jam trying to recover, going high, but gets knocked out of the air by the forward air, swatted away. Can he get it again? Waits for the air dodge, but he misses the up B.
Already you can see Ken trying to get right back to work, but they're in the red. They're in the critical percentages. One solid hit, and honestly, from Ike, nearly every hit is solid, as that will just about do it. It's the up air to get the final stock. Oh, nice forward throw off of the edge. Not going to be able to confirm, though, as yet another final elimination goes the way of iTheta. And if I'm not mistaken, that's 3 up, 3 down. FSU take the dub.
Oh, Helix. I would have liked to see him press that because you can't get that height off the wall, and Mux is going to be able to take advantage of it. And I mean, we've seen flip resets, we've seen ceiling challenges, and we just get the basic old school air dribble to go right into the mat. It's going to be Helix with the dribble away. Bumps 11 out of the way as well. That might be a goal. Helix over the top. Great downfield pass, and they're going to take advantage of the space created by this demolition. Able to get that one away. Helix going to get a pass back to the midfield, looking for Pancake. Going for the double tap. Squishy save attempt. Not going to be there. Here's Helix off the side, and a forced own goal once again. Concord's going to take the lead. And Pancake's not able to read that as Helix gets a monster dunk here. Can you turn around on it? He can. Helix.
Just realizing this ball's got to go somewhere and always knows. Now Matt Mux down bottom. Oh, brutal right there. Oxygen. Okay.
84?
82. My goodness.
Okay,
I could not have been farther off. Excuse me, folks. Excuse me.
As this one might find the back of the net, and it does again.
Boy.
ET, let's give him 4. You know, we're talking about everything else.
14 seconds, maybe in somebody's dreams. There's another goal down bottom. 7 score differential here.
Zarya choice that V-Snipes is sitting on is going to help bring St. Francis to victory, but already Ohio Northern is going to get into the bases. Millions taking out their counterpart, and Zephyr now looking towards any more targets to be found, but the way they're falling, it's going to be basically just like that. It's already over before it even begins. And they do. Now with 5%, almost everyone in St. Francis caught inside of that Earth Shatter. The Immortality Field may have come up, but the damage, you cannot survive through it. No one able to touch from St. Francis. And Ohio Northern here, Jag is going to take map 1 of DePaul 2-0, 100-0 each round. V-Snipes, put your supports in great positions where they can not worry about damage, but still be able to get the healing. This is crazy from V-Snipes. They wanted to go in and try to meet the amplification matrix, but instead gonna meet their death while Harry is having the time of their life on this Reinhardt.
It'd be a whole different sort of fight, but now they're going to try to go for a similar approach, but go a different way. But Harry knows. Harry's able to spear them off the map.
Wow.
Continued chaos.
We're seeing these things really doing the world's work on themselves, but Balder and this overclock 2 already looking to make that 3. Another pick here potentially. Really wanted to get rid of V-Snipes. Doesn't need the overclock, and now one final target to go. Caro assassinated. Boulders.
For a full one, at the very least, the Lucio trying their best to make it there. I do believe they'll at least get a little bit of a contest. But I mean, you can see where Harry is all the way in the spawn, and there's no more chances for St. Francis. Ohio Northern with a clean 3-0 to send them home with a smile.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to ECC Overwatch here on Esports U. I am Sepulence, joined by Twin Salty. We're going to be jumping into our Overwatch Best of 5 series today. Twin Salty, before we get into the teams and the discussion of what we're going to be seeing, how are you doing, man? How has your week been so far?
It's been good, and we get a nice little finals preview potentially here between New York Tech and Staten Island. You and I were talking about it before. It could be a really good game here. CSI has gotten the better of NYIT over the last year or so, but it's never it's always close, right? It's always been a close game, even if the map count doesn't always show it.
Yeah, and I think that really goes across all the games we have here in the ECC. I see these teams in the SSBU division very often. I see these teams in Rocket League somewhat often. Of course, we see them in Overwatch pretty darn often as well. So these teams come in with a lot to prove as those programs overall. And I'm looking into map number 1, looking at Samoa to see A, what compositions we're looking towards here, and B, how these teams are going to perform in this first map, which should traditionally indicate if we're going to be seeing that CSA stomp like we normally do.
Yeah, CSI, especially on Control, are ridiculous. It's usually when we get to Escrow, when we get to Hybrid, maybe some of the weaknesses show themselves, but yeah, it's been CSI Control almost every single time they've played it, I think. Even last fall, they never lost to Control. The last spring before that, I don't think they ever lost to Control. It's a ridiculous record that they're keeping right now, and we'll have to see if NYT is able to bring it back.
Now, if somebody is going to be able to bring it back, I think not only is NYIT a very eligible option, but I think they have an increased chance here tonight due to the Control map we're starting on, which is, of course, the newest Control map in the entire game. We're starting things off with Samoa this evening, and I wonder if CSI can adapt and play the way they want to, or if NYIT can kind of sneak in under the wire with this new map in its existence.
Yeah, with this being the newest map, yes, it's been out for a little bit, but it's not a Lijiang, right? It's not an Oasis where people know it like the back of their head. People are still learning the intricacies of this map, and especially in the meta we are in right now, you can run a whole lot of stuff and it be okay. Right?
Which may not be the case for long if certain leaked patch notes are true, but we'll get there when we get there.
We get there when we get there. I'm pushing off that thought to as late as I possibly can. But this should be an opportunity here for CSI, set the tone very early, or for New York Tech, hey, maybe shake them up. Even if you don't win the map, you win a round, something like that to at least show that, hey, you're going to be able to stick around in this match.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to see Ramatra locked in pretty early here for a lot of these teams because Ramatra is really in a comfortable spot of aggression right now. He's not maybe the best on his own, but he's certainly one of the best tanks to be played in the game right now. NYIT bringing out a Symmetra swap into that Sojourn, so they have a little bit of a movement advantage. And I do want to call out NYIT's Moira pick here, which I think is really going to be important to keep an eye on. Moira is a very selfish healer, and she's one that does not help a team in a team fight scenario like this. So I do think the healing is advantageous in favor of Staten Island, but wow, let me eat those words right here live on stream as Rips is going to be ripped out of the fight. Taken down early allows NYIT to find a 5v4 advantage. They're going to try to take this space up through the high ground, but the tank takes a bit of damage. Ramatra has to rotate low, and now the point has been open. Can NYIT sneak out a pick? Wow, Bio with 2 HP gets the mini, stays alive by the skin of their teeth, and still going to be alive long enough to tell this tale. They all focus him down. A Bio does go down, and NYIT claiming this first point.
That is the fight they needed to begin with, as they're playing the range game excellently. They have the double hit scan compared to the Mei from Staten Island with Chongyun, and it hasn't paid off too much. They have not been able to deal with Tentacion in the front line, and they are just loving life because they, in a way, have that heal advantage with the Moira with the orb.
Yeah, the Moira Orb can be very powerful in these tight corridors like we're experiencing now. We see that Coalescence go out as well with a beat to boot, so NYIT really getting hyper-aggressive in this fight. 2 support ultimates traded out for just 1. The Kitsune from Noob is unfortunately, dare I say, null and void. They really do not get a lot of value out of it, but they will finally break through. That Annihilation Punch will take that Cassidy out of the equation, and with an Annihilation online from NYIT, they're going to choose to hold that until this next engagement. Staten Island coming to life. We've seen a lot of defensive walls from this Mei, but I want to see the offense turn into an uptick here. I want to see them get aggressive, but maybe not this aggressive. Another defensive wall keeps the Ramatra alive long enough for the beat to drop, but now it's just going to be who can hold their arms up a little bit longer. Annihilation is out. The Lucio should be down. He's not going to be the only one unless this Mei can get out of the way. It's a rush deep into the back line. Chongyun has gone down. NYIT finds that numbers advantage in a fight they were supposed to lose, and now they're going to get this point flipped back a lot earlier than they were supposed to.
Yeah, what a killer counter punch there for the Bears as they're just able to flip it all back. They absorb all that pressure. You were saying, hey, Staten Island, get aggressive. I think they hit the gas just a little bit too much.
A wee bit.
Just a little bit. Tentacion was waiting for that beat to go away, and as soon as it did, pop the Annihilation, you move on in, and now New York Tech looking to be in a decent spot to steal round 1.
This could be a really big opportunity for NYIT. Another Coalescence comes out from Grebka here. It's going to be a double kill already in favor of NYIT. Hell, let's make it a 3K as Doc will take Cammy out of the way. Bioactive down in Staten Island, all but guaranteed to lose this opening round. If they can get back in time, they've got 3 very powerful ultimates to work with, but with the ability and the speed that NYIT has been eliminating them from the fight, I'd be shocked to see all 3 of these ulti and get used before they're sent back to the spawn room.
Yeah, they need to, I would say, Kitsune Rush first with Bioactive shortly after, and then Cammy, more of a survival ultimate potentially. But yeah, as you said, Bio not even going to get there.
There's 2 down already to 5v3. The Annihilation going to be held out a lot longer than I want it to be. Noob drops Kitsune, but gives their life for the cause, and now it is basically up to the Annihilation and the Annihilation alone to drop a 5K, and it's not even going to find 1. Akira does go down. Cammy loses their life, and NYIT 100 to 29 here on the first point of Samoa.
Admittedly, not how I thought this first round was going to go, Matt. I'm not going to lie to you. You look at the historical records of these teams, Staten Island has been the dominant force out of these 2 over the last couple of years, and New York Tech has always been the bridesmaid, never the bride. It's today maybe where it's starting to shift. I know it's very early here, and maybe Rip SR, like we talked about earlier, is a little bit newer to this team, maybe trying to get into the motions a little bit more, but that is the kind of start you needed for New York Tech if you're going to try and pull this upset.
The Baptiste swap, apparently the only one we're going to be seeing on the side of Staten Island. We see a swap from the Hanzo to the Soldier 76, and on this side of Samoa in particular, I do think Soldier gets a lot of great value early on. NYIT utilizes that Symmetra teleport once more. Doc back onto the Sojourn, rejoins the group. Point open in 15 seconds. Grebka going, I think, for an offensive flank here, trying to catch somebody out in the back line. Ramatra deep from Staten Island. Cammy goes in looking for a pick onto his support and will be able to find one. They push that gas pedal through the floor, but Grebka's flank does end up paying off. Rip SR and Bioactive have gone down, so it's going to be a 3v3, but as they lose their tank on the side of NYIT, I think this should be a fight in favor of Staten Island.
Yeah, they will be able to clean it up. Nice little circle punch with the pummel to take out the Soldier for New York Tech, and Staten Island will claim first, and that's how fast they need to play it every single time. Wall goes down. Tentacion was stuck on point, couldn't help the rest of the team, and Cammy had just a free real estate to move on forward and get that backline.
12% online for Staten Island, a couple of ultimates just over the horizon, but with this Soldier flanking on the high ground, a lot of great accuracy can make this really difficult to get some picks early on. It forces a defensive blockade. They have to put the shield up. They have to rotate to the back of sight. Ant Matrix goes out, but Noob isn't even going to get to use it. Bioactive bites the bullet very early on, and now with 30% up and running for Staten Island, I think they are going to have to pass this point over to NYIT, even more so now that they've lost every standing member. Only 40% gained, not as much space as you think they'd like.
Not as much as they would have wanted. Grebka is all gas, and they are flanking.
Yeah, no breaks.
Again, and I think it's going to be a positive and a negative. We saw it in that first fight. It was a massive negative. They didn't have the heals to try and deal with the push, but that time, they were able to get some early pickoffs because of it, and here we go. They're in the back again, looking for Noob.
No. Does Noob even notice they're taking damage? Oh, they put the Immortality Field down. Another Coalescence out from Grebka destroys that Immortality Field. The Maywall trying to play a defensive blockade, but it's just not going to be able to. Both Lucio's down. Cammy bites the bullet early on, and the Annihilation gets annihilated with the rest of Staten Island. They have not only obliterated Staten Island from this equation here, but they have officially taken the lead on the second point of Samoa. Can NYIT emerge victorious? Only 2 more fights to find out.
Yeah, and that was massive because Staten Island did use the Annihilation that fight. That was kind of their big win condition in the first round. That did at least get them some purchase. But now you have to counter this Blizzard from Chongyun to try and find somebody. But again, another flank here from the Bears.
The flank goes out, the beat is dropped, does not save the tank in time, and NYIT gonna pop every single other ultimate they have in their roster. Desperate to find an elimination, they found Rip SR, but Doc gave their life. The overclock gets overly cooked here by Chongyun. It looks like we're gonna see a Doomfist swap from NYIT in a desperate attempt to make it back to point as fast as possible. Grebka gone, Staten Island using only 2 ultimates to win out that fight, and they were able to do so, but I hate to say it, I do think we're looking at a last fight scenario. If NYIT wins that point back even one time, I do believe they should emerge victorious.
Yeah, they just need one, and that's why Tentacion will go back. Sarah will go over to the Cassidy now, maybe to try and deal with that aggression just a little bit. Even if it is the nade, slows Cammy down just for a second for the rest of the team to figure out what their game plan is. But both support ultimates for Staten Island, they should be in a pretty decent spot to force one more fight.
Cassidy already down. Staten Island really feeling glad about their chances here. Akira has bit that bullet of NYIT. They should recognize they have to get out of here as quickly as possible if they want to try and win this engagement a clean way out the gate. 72% Staten Island taking back the lead, and just like that, third sight Samoa feels just over the horizon.
How does Grebka get out of that? I am shocked. They should have been dead to rights. But like I said, now Staten Island, all of a sudden, the team in the power position. But it will be New York Tech. They have plenty of time to touch this point, and the Coalescence to engage.
Coalescence from Grebka, I believe their fourth Coalescence, and just like that, it will not be used for the engagement. One Icicle cuts a wee bit too close to home, and the value has been found. NYIT are going to lose this second point of Samoa, and I think that should give us a pretty clear-cut indication of how this series is going to play out across the board. It's a close one, but it's one that should be beneficial for one of these teams with one more set of Samoa left to decide who walks away with map number 1.
Yeah, definitely way better there from Staten Island. They played the aggression way better, and they utilized the Mei. Last round, New York Tech were able to extend that range difference and really abuse the backline of Staten Island this time around due to the Mei wall, due to the lamp as well that Cammy was able to play around. They were able to be way more aggressive in their frontline pushes, and that is what Staten Island did that time around to make it so good. But now it will be New York Tech. They will bring a Mei of their own, or at least tease it early to try and bring some of those counter walls and deny that advantage.
And the walls from Chongyun have gotten pretty consistently better as this series has really poured out. That was one of my first comments after map number 1 was the walls were really defensive. I was looking for a lot more offense. They heard me. They made it clear they were looking to bring that power to the table. And this will be a really interesting stage to see how Mei plays out. Her wall is the exact width of those opening passageways. So Cammy goes in really early with no immortality field in their pocket. I do believe they may go down. That defense playing its heart out, but as the reload from Noob comes out, are they going to be able to keep this Ramatra up and running? Just barely. So much ult charge to be found on either side, and for the time being, nobody has bit that bullet quite yet, but by golly, Cammy is just delaying the inevitable. I cannot believe they're still up. The Mei wall is near perfect, and the BAP cannot make it over in time. Cammy isolated and obliterated. NYIT now has a 3-player advantage over Staten Island and should get this first point in their favor.
Yeah, they flip it over, and again, those are the Mei walls you want to see. The counterplay yet again, this time to the Side Bear's credit. Just not even walling off the Ramatra, but just walling off Noob for that 1 second made all the difference as they were doing God's work keeping up Cammy for that long.
Yeah, Cammy is going to come back with a vengeance, though that Vortex picks up 1. 2 more going to be found by Bioactive, and this is actually the earliest I believe we're going to see a point swapped back in favor of a team. It's been up in the 40s nearly every time, but Staten Island should get it back just around 32% here. Going into this next engagement, Grebka has the Coalescence online. I've said it a million times, I'll say it a million more. A very, very strong ultimate, and it's one that charges very quickly, so let's see if Grebka can get some value with it.
Yeah, just need to use it quickly and aggressively. There we go, just like that.
Clock comes out from Bioactive. The mortality field has gone down. Grebka's Coalescence just cannot keep the team up. Can't even keep themselves up long enough. A counter overclock from Doc is a very surprising ultimate pop if I've ever seen one. You got Bioactive, but that's a consolation prize. So right now, Staten Island is going to snatch that lead right back.
3 ults used on each side, and that time Staten Island able to bring it, and they still have the Annihilation. That is going to be massive as the window from Noob, arguably the most impactful, helps take down Tentacion when they were in an advantageous position.
Ooh, Blizzard out from Rare here as they barely hold on to their HP. Moving into the combat here, we're going to get a Venn diagram, but I think it comes out a little bit too late. A beat drop from Akira is also incredibly surprising. So now Chongyun, even with 0 eliminations on that Blizzard, it is a worthwhile ultimate. You forced out that beat. You found not 1, not 2, but 3 eliminations, and now NYIT are going to lose the point. They just fought so hard to get, not even close to an ultimate on either side. So the rest of this map, a majority of it should be dry fights.
Yeah, this will be a neutral fight going into next, and we could maybe see, I would think, maybe a Koa or a Window, one of the support ultimates in the penultimate one, but, you know, it's going to be, like you said, it's going to be going back to basics here during this fight, as New York Tech, they just cannot seem to finish off some of these fights.
Ooh, Grebka down to 50 HP, barely able to make it back around the corner. A late Coalescence comes out, and it will take down Bioactive. 70% now online for Staten Island, but losing their Sojourn. Immortality Field is gone, and the rest of the team, like dominoes, will fall. A large opening here for New York Tech to get into this combat early. 80% for Staten Island. We have absolutely entered last fight territory. If they can win this fight even one more time on the side of Staten Island, they should win the map in a 2-1 fashion. But it's a big if. It really is.
It's a massive if, and this next fight will be, honestly, the deal breaker. Because if New York Tech can extend it even just a little bit, Staten Island may not have the time to re-aggress for one more fight.
The Amplification Matrix does come out in what could possibly be the penultimate fight, as you predicted, Jesse. It's going to be an annihilation out the beat from Rips to keep them alive, but it's not really going to be able to do so. A lot of damage to be done on the side of New York Tech, and the annihilation just can't find it. Instead, NYIT gets annihilated in that final engagement. Moving into this next combat, this will be the final 84-84 as time stands.
You got to find somebody who is able to get there fast. It'll probably be Akira. That'll speed the team in, but that just fell apart every single time for New York Tech. But they should be able to touch.
Oh, it doesn't really matter, though. 2 players already down and out. Doc is going to be able to find a 2K of their own before Grebka puts him out, but I used the phrase consolation prize earlier, and this, unfortunately, I think is still going to be one for the side of New York Tech. That'll be Staten Island emerging victorious here on Samoa in a Stage 3 100-84 scenario. That Lucio could not have been closer. Akira was less than a second away from stalling out that overtime.
Yeah, no, that was incredibly close for New York Tech. And Staten Island, though, they keep this ongoing control map record alive, which is one of the longest that I've seen in the conference. Oh, it was extremely close. And I think, you give credit to New York Tech. The last time these two teams played each other, it was a sweep on Oasis for CSI, and it was not close. It was not a close map whatsoever. So this time around, at least progress has been made with this kind of new roster for NYIT. But now the real question will be when they get over to hybrid for next map. This is when we historically have seen them play at least a little better. We've seen CSI a little weaker. Is that when we can finally see them pull a map and make this a true series?
I think there's a very high possibility of CSI being able to win out this hybrid map just as likely as NYIT. I think we're in a scenario where these teams are fighting very close together. And while I don't think Grebka is the losing condition, right? I think the Moira actually worked better than I was anticipating. You end up getting play of the game. You've still got to wonder if we're seeing a difference in the healing being the reason that Staten Island is able to win out on those fights. So it's not in particularly, it's Grebka's fault, but it may be the team composition's fault, where that Moira, even with her orbs, can only heal so much. She's built to do damage and heal, but traditionally has to lean in more on that damage, which allows the healers of Staten Island to continue healing, which allows the Baptiste to farm Amplification Matrix faster. So it's this big flowchart of what ifs, ands, and buts, but in reality, I am wondering if NYIT will swap off of that Moira.
Yeah, because we saw in that penultimate fight where both Rams got aggressive immediately, but Dentacion had nobody to go up with him other than an orb to kind of follow him along when CSI, because of their comp, they have to stay more compact. And so they went up with Cammy and were able to win the fight because of that. And I think that's something we've seen time and time again, to where NYIT is way more deathmatchy with how they want to play. They want to try and find those 1v1s. And CSI, especially in those second 2 rounds, they weren't allowing those to happen a majority of the time, and they started making those adaptations.
But I think you raise a great point talking about kind of that deathmatch, that snowball energy, right? And that's why Moira does work right now. That's why Grebka is able to perform the way they were able to be that support in the front and back line, is because they're going for that 1v1 play style. And I believe we've got Grebka's stats, if we're able to pull them up in just a minute here, to see kind of how they're doing across the board. We're looking at 33 elims, 10k damage, and 14k healing. So, I mean, Grebka is clearly doing both sides of the coin here. They're playing very strong. 5 ults used is actually surprising. I thought it would be more. We saw 3 of those alone in the second stage, so you've got to wonder how often they weren't ulting on stages 1 and 3, but Grebka, I think, is currently a good example of how Moira can do both the damage and the healing. Has been a pretty decent support so far, and hopefully they're able to continue that forward. But again, Moira, as I called her earlier, is a pretty selfish support. And is it that selfish nature that may be causing this team to lose that first map?
It was that double-edged sword of, it won them a couple of fights, especially on round 1, and even round 2, I think it won them a fight. But in round 3, it really lost them a fight or two because they couldn't stay as compact as they wanted to. So I think that might even be just a slight play style change for NYIT, even if they keep the Moira. They got to play a little bit more compact with the Mei being such a massive factor here. As you said, Chongyun's walls got way better as that map progressed. They were being way more aggressive. They weren't being as defensive. And even when they had the Mei mirror, they were still winning that Mei duel with the walls. So,
and I think if you are playing Moira, you got to play close corridors, which they stopped doing after the first stage. They were fighting in like the little room with the mini, and then they were like, okay, get out on the point, and it kind of fell apart from there a little bit, and we never really saw them reclaim that fighting in tight spaces.
Yeah, so it'll be hybrid for our next map, like we said earlier. Oh. That is a choice.
That's certainly okay. Listen, so it's. Okay, for our friends at home that did not just hear our producer in our ear, hybrid is the next map, which means Numbani is the map that has been chosen. But the interesting thing about that is Moira should work well. If I'm not mistaken, Bio notoriously is a role, can play all 3 roles. If I'm not mistaken, plays Winston when they're in the tank department. So I'm wondering if we're swapping Bio over to tank here on the side of Staten Island. But it is NYIT that chose this map after all, so I'm definitely going to be looking at their tank to see the role chosen, or the agent chosen.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what their plan is, because they did play this the last time they were against each other. It was 4-3. Granted, that was back in the middle of November when we were in heavy Orisa meta. So that is, there's an asterisk there. It was definitely a different play style back then to what we're going to see now. But we're not going to see any swaps for either side, actually, as it will just be...
Oh, no, there's one on the side of NYIT.
Yeah,
it's a player swap. Yeah, it's not a role swap.
Yeah, Cringe over for NYIT now, but Staten Island will stay the same. We will not see Bio move at all, and we will not see Phobic, who is their hit scan specialist, jump in either on this map. So, like we said, it's going to be a lot different look than when they played a few months ago. We'll have to see, though, if NYIT can actually change the result.
Jesse, you know how, like, when a dog hears a high-pitched sound, they, like, tilt their head to the side? They're, like, confused. That's how I feel looking at these team comps right now, because parts of it make sense, and parts of it... not as much. I'm surprised to see a Tracer right now. I'm surprised to see a Mercy with the roster on the side of NYIT, unless she's just going for a hard pocket on the Sojourn, but a hard pocket on offense is a little less common, unless it's like a Pharah or an Echo. So it does kind of restrain the healing for NYIT, but clearly they're no strangers to a low healing composition. They run Moira pretty consistently, and this does seem to be working. Cammy gets a little bit over aggressive, gets taken out deep in the back line, and it looks like Rip SR may be caught in this back pocket, a really difficult position to be in on the side of Staten Island, because even if they don't die, they can't heal because they're too busy fighting off this angry monkey.
Yeah, both supports were just stuck up there, so none of their teammates could really get healing during that time. Bio was still moving around, so is Cammy, and they're actually, they bring that back. All the squishies are left alone on point, but it is 2 ticks for NYIT during that initial fight. I give credit to Noob and Rip SR, even though SR dies late. They don't die during that entire phase, even though Chongyun's in their... not Chongyun. Sarah is in their face. Dentasio is in their face. They're able to stay alive just long enough to eventually bring it back.
Yeah, I'm actually very impressed with the fact that we were able to see this team not just show up, but really start to show off a little bit in terms of performance. Looking deeper into the lineup here, I'm going to be looking closely at Noob and see if their existence or lack thereof will be changing up the performance of these teams. Noob has gone down in the blink of an eye. Grebka, not very good positioning here, just on the low ground, smack in the middle of the fight. Should be taken down for that overzealousness, but as Cammy's gone down, Chongyun taken out by Grebka there. NYIT should have this point cap in their favor. Just like that, they're going to be able to find it.
They still got the Moira positioning mindset on Ana. It's a dangerous combination sometimes.
You're so right.
It was definitely a little weird. As Cringe will go over now to the break to match. I think that's a good idea. It will be a nice little trade there, nice little gentleman's trade on that one. But that was a massive nade in that last fight by Grebka onto Noob, and now that stagger will really hurt Staten Island. They can't play this too aggressive quite yet.
I am physically fighting the opportunity to say Gramishka, which is a Dungeons and Dragons monster, every time I say Grebka. Like, I'm literally forcing my brain to say Grebka because I'm so used to saying the word Gramishka, but that's just an unimportant Septilin's fact. Now I don't really get to talk about Grebka because they've been taken out of the equation early on. Chongyun gets the dash kill. and it is just a silent Blade afterward, doing a bit of an emote there on where the cart used to be. A dash into a wall, right into a Winston. I think Chongyun may not be long for this mortal coil. Very unlucky series of unfortunate events there. Oh, what a primal, barely gets it unlocked there to avoid that pulse bomb, taking them out of the way and out of the equation. But again, a silent ultimate nano onto a Winston, a blade out from air here. No, sorry, that was a nano blade. So instead, this Genji goes deep into the back line, looks for the pick onto the Winston, not going to be able to line things up quite yet. And the cart hasn't really stopped moving for a majority of this time, so they're well over halfway to capping this second point. Even though they've lost their tank, I think they're still going to get down to this final corner of point 2.
Yeah, they should be very close to the end of second phase when it's all said and done. And Doc does have that overclock. Just to make sure they don't get it reflected back in their face. Not recommended.
Been there. Been there. Yeah. It is not a good spot to be in. And oh my goodness, we're going to need Grebka to swap off the Ana. Poor thing cannot play this game right now. No matter how badly they want to, they are taking out time and time and time again. Chongyun will be biting that overclocked bullet here from Doc. Cammy goes down to Cringe as well. And I've got to say, Cringe swapping to the Brig late into the game has done a really impressive job being in the line of fire, constantly protecting Grebka when Grebka's up. But it's when Grebka has already gone down that Cringe has started to shine a bit more so.
Yeah, and even though, yes, I understand they were trying to do, like, the mixed pocket on Tentacion and Doc, it just didn't really do exactly what they needed to. And as you said, it's how Grebka when they're going super aggressive, but they can also sort of survive on their own against this double flanker comp way better.
Yeah, very, very true. I think swapping off the Ana wouldn't be a bad idea for anybody, but Cammy has to pop a Primal Rage, desperate to stay alive at a fundamental moment here. NYIT has kind of been rolling their way through Numbani, but honestly, this is how the map traditionally goes, is a team will make it all the way to third point, and then usually get stalled out around this third point marker. Grebka down once again. Staten Island has the advantage for the first time in a very long time, it may seem, but an advantage is an advantage regardless. Let's see how well this team can not just show up, but show off at a moment they really need to be.
Yeah, that was a nice little turnaround. Even though the Primal, it didn't get a whole lot, it just displaced everybody on NYIT.
Yep, exactly.
And they couldn't stay intact like they have. Actually, they adjusted really well since map 1 in that very fact. Let's see if they can continue that now. Primal online, Nanoblade almost as well.
Oh, Nanoblade comes out. Wow, poor Grebka. How many deaths on the board? Doc has gone down. It's a 4K from Chongyun, and it's a very impressive one at that. A wonderful opening from Staten Island, and actually putting an exclamation point at the end of a statement I made a moment ago of how valuable it is to start winning the fight right around here, because everybody's expected to make it about this far on Numbani.
Yeah, this is the phase, though. You need to win one decisive fight and keep the momentum going if you are on the offense. They now have that Nano Blade to work with. They got built up later in that fight. The question is, do you want to try and use Primal and rally this fight to save it for that point capturing fight, or do you want to just pop it right now?
All right, here comes the counter Nano Blade with a rally out of pocket. Rip SR doesn't even get to get the shields out as they've been taken away. Beautiful target focus from the side of NYIT. The supports are gone. The Genji has fallen, and this fight is already lost the moment that Brigitte bit the bullet post rally. Cringe takes down Cammy, and there's one fight win. They need just one more to cap third point Numbani, which is a tough thing to ask.
The fact that they got both supports right away with that Nano Blade was massive, and even though, yes, Bio is still sitting in the back, NYIT still have 2 ultimates to use. Staten Island, only a Primal to work with.
Oh, no pulse bomb available, but Cringe is gone. Overclock deep into the back line, frantically firing, can't find a target to shoot, but with a bit of luck and awkward strafing, Bioactive will go down. Doc gives their life for the cause. Cammy finds a 2K, takes down Grebka, might see a chase onto the Genji here, might not even have to chase if you don't miss your right clicks, Cammy. Beautiful performance here on the Winston. Sometimes I just kind of forget he can do that now. With a wonderfully timed tactical reset, Winston will be joining NYIT for what I would say is confidently one more fight, maybe a panic push at the very end.
Yeah, I think maybe a panic push or a panic recontest, depending on who wins this next fight.
Yeah.
But yes, it should be the last true fight in New York Tech. They have nothing. They put all their eggs in that last basket. Oh, cringe.
Cringe.
Well, they made us have actually a very quick fight and now an actual fight because they're just going to back right on out.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see Staten Island kind of pull their punches back a little bit. I think this overextension is a bit clunky. I think they already found a valuable player. It would have forced NYIT to wait for them to respawn, would have guaranteed a final fight. But now this penultimate fight can be drawn out into the final fight. Bioactive caught in the backline, has to use the recall, does not have the blinks to get away. SR does go down, the nano is up, but the sleep dart is found, and Cammy almost silent in the fight. Noob misses the sleep dart, will go down to Doc with the help of that Winston, and Cammy's Primal Rage is the saving grace for this team at a fundamental moment. Let's see if they're going to be able to keep that value up and running.
They may not be able to. They lost both supports. It is just Tentacion. And when Staten Island are at their lowest, that seems to be when they can claw out, as it'll just be before the end of third phase for New York Tech.
Just barely shy of that third phase. And I'll be honest, this is actually my favorite kind of location for hybrid or escort maps to end, is right before that third point cap, because it guarantees that we're going to have a close game one way or another, and we don't have to go into extra rounds, which really draw out, which really can get kind of boring. It's like either you beat them by capping the map in completion, or you never made it that far to begin with. So I'm eager to see how well these teams are going to perform, swapping sides now, and if we're going to be getting any hero changes. I do think that map was a little bit favored of NYIT. I think there was a bit of luck on the side of Staten Island to be able to win out that final fight, a very well-timed Primal Rage, but in terms of it being very close, I wouldn't hate to see maybe a change or two from Staten Island, and already we just might get that opportunity.
Okay. Doomfist coming out. Again, they're on the offense, so they may be trolling us just a little bit.
The odds of trolling are unfortunately
Oh, the
high.
odds of trolling are immense, so I'm not even going to talk about that hodgepodge of a comp right now. But for New York Tech, I don't mind the Tracer swap. Try maybe put a little more pressure onto Noob, and it's weird to say that, because that's exactly how they won the first and second phases.
Right.
But third phase, it was not there. They could not keep that pressure up, so maybe with the Tracer, you got slightly more mobility than you do historically on the Genji, and we talked about it earlier as well. Grubcut just maybe hit the brake, just like a tad bit. Because I like them being aggressive, but maybe not to that extent, and they kept this comp. Okay, count me impressed.
Golly! But hey, we gotta talk about the fact that I predicted Echo Mercy when NYIT was attacking.
Echo Mercy, Doom.
I'm glad the mindset's not completely crazy, but have a Doomfist in the tank department is definitely an interesting choice. Bioactive has the opportunity to flank the sports in the back line, but they've got to get in quickly. The shield has gone up. The break is gonna get dove, but a Bio Nade should be a game changer. Air has already gone down. NYIT losing their Tracer, arguably the least important character to lose, but as your Ana joins them in the spawn room, traded out for a Kiriko in the back line. Brigida gone. Staten Island, they're gonna cap this point in record time right now. Noob's back up. It's a full 5. Oh, no, there goes Bioactive.
There goes Bio. Yeah, it should be a cap. It should be New York Tech. Well, they were going to contest. Tentacion, though, is, yeah, he gone. He did not last long for this world, and you wonder if swaps are coming for New York Tech very soon, as the Cybers, they're just going to get staggered out.
Yeah, you know, a wise man once said, it is what it is. It really do be like that sometimes. The Winston goes in. He gets deleted. It's a fight already in favor of Staten Island. When that Winston had gone down, that was the win condition guaranteed. A bit of an overextension from Chongyun, but as I mentioned earlier, not really the end of the world. We're not in a scenario in which it's going to be a guaranteed loss of a team over or underperforms right now, especially when you have 5 minutes on the clock. Staten Island looking for an any % speed run right now.
They went Mercy, Matt, that's a choice for me. I'm not sure.
Yeah!
When you're getting dove by Doom, it's a choice. I think they're banking on the fact that they can pocket either Sarah or Doc, whoever's in a more advantageous position, to try and deal with Bio, who has been an absolute nuisance during this attack.
Yeah, it's tough because Winston's very mobile. Sojourn and Tracer are very mobile. Ana's not. But she's not going to save you if someone attacks you the way that maybe a DPS would. So it's definitely an interesting choice. I don't completely hate it, but golly, do I wish maybe it was just a wee bit different. The value is going to be coming out here pretty early on the side of Staten Island once more. 4.5 minutes on the clock. I believe it's about to be a complete and total team kill as this Winston has gone down, and they should be capping second point with about 3:50 on the clock if they do it with no stopping.
Yeah, Sarah might be able to touch here for the Cybears. We'll see if they can get into a position, but it's already Bio looking for anybody to try and touch this point. Well, yep, there they are. There's your Tracer friend, and that will be point captured just because of that recall that is forced, and they'll pay for their life red as well. And this, oh god, Matt, this is getting ugly.
This is definitely one of the fights I've ever watched. We're definitely kind of approaching that radius of surprise. I'm definitely shocked at the performances that we've been seeing from these teams so far, but I think there is a very real possibility we could be seeing a continued journey kind of on the side of NYIT. If they were to swap into something a bit slower, maybe a Sigma or a Ramatra, if they were to put the Ashe into maybe a Bastion, get the Sojourn onto possibly a Reaper, it would be weird, but I think it would play a little bit better with the spawn advantage, and holy cow, what a transformation.
Yeah, you're in, out, basically just an extra life button.
Yeah. Okay, NYIT, we see you. Okay, here we go. We got that double hit scan going. We got that double sniper-esque kind of composition going, if you want to call Sojourn a sniper. I don't know. She's everything and nothing at the same time. But NYIT, they've only got a Primal Rage. Staten Island coming in with a Kitsune, a Meteor Strike, and possibly a Blade, depending on how much value Chongyun can find.
Yeah, granted, this is where Staten Island also held NYIT for a very long time. It's the historic corner, and they can play the range here. The big thing for Cammy and Chongyun especially, can they try and find Grebka or Cringe early on? Primal is forced pretty early, and Tentacion, they're just kind of using it to kind of hang out on this point and delay this fight.
Ooh. Rare going to be catching a lot of damage here in the back line. Kitsune Rush goes out. They try to find Cringe, who's 1 HP, taken down by Bioactive, and this has to be the beginning of the end of Numbani here. Maybe one more contest, but with only 2 ultimates used, nearly 3 in the back pocket of Staten Island. It's all about that stall. It's all about that potential, and I'm eager to see if that potential can be found here when it matters most.
It will be just
only
the staggers now. Hey, oh god.
That's tough. You lose the Bob, you lose the Ashe, and the rest of the team gonna try to play a slow and painful process. Grebka's fallen, Rip SR taken out by Doc. Chongyun will be able to find Cringe in the chaos of the mix-up here. They need to get this Ashe down before Bob makes an appearance, but he will come hurtling out of that spawn room. Rare gives their life for it. Bob is gone, and that brings Numbani to a close. Staten Island now gonna be up 2-0 on the series so far.
2-0 heading into Flashpoint. And the comp that we thought was honestly a little bit of a troll when they were sitting in spawn actually paid out really well, as New York Tech they just had no answers for this. No matter where you looked, somebody was on the flank ready to go, and this Echo Mercy combo was absolutely ridiculous. We saw a few times as well the Doomfist going in to try and finish up some of the kills. That is how you run a Doom comp right now in 2024, is just always damage low, have Cammy finish it off, or vice versa. And
it's
what
almost like they
round.
it's almost like they used NYIT's composition, or like formal composition, against them in that term of like a death match, right? It was like, okay, the Doom's in front of you, so if you turn around, guess what? The Echo's behind you, and she's got a Mercy pocket. The Tracer, she's to your left, and all of a sudden you've got one way to go. They collapse in on top of you, and time again, continuously, NYIT just found themselves back against the wall. College of Staten Island really feeling confident right now, and as we move into our next matchup, I do believe it will be a Flashpoint map for our third and possibly final, and with how close Control was, Flashpoint could definitely be interesting.
Yeah, and I bet we'll see more of the Ramatra comps, depending on where we go, I will say.
Yeah.
If we go to Esperanza, we may see more Doom, we may see more Winston, depending on where we go. But I think if you're NYIT, you avoid Esperanza. You do not want to play Dive. You just saw how that ended up for you. Especially when it was CSI pressing the gas. My guess is Coliseo, but we'll see where they end up going. Geez, Flashpoint. We're dumb, Matt. We're talking about.
I said Flashpoint, Jesse.
I know.
I don't mean to hang you out by yourself.
I even said it at the beginning, and my brain registered push. I can't. It's a Friday, folks. It's
I wouldn't complain if it was push. It's a Friday. This is my last broadcast of the week right now. Okay, it's been a long week, but. The point stands, I believe Suravasa is going to be coming up next year. But it's funny because while you were saying Esperanza, in my brain, I was auto-correcting you to Suravasa. So if we do go to it, that it's still the dive coming to we're making still made sense. There still could be that same kind of value. But New Junk City, I think, is still Winston friendly. Cammy was really, really good on that Winston, and I think we have their stats ready to be pulled up. But it's going to be interesting to look at kind of what we're seeing in terms of performance and tank choice. So with the Doomfist swap at the end, 41 eliminations, 5 ultimates used, 13,000 damage across Numbani. So the 41 elims is certainly the outlying number there.
Yeah, and granted, that's when he was on Doom and Winston, but a lot of that was on Doom later on. That is ridiculous for Kim. And the 15 final blows, that's honestly what screams out to me more. And that kind of point we were talking to of them and Bio, one of them finishing, one of them setting it up, and just rolling them out, knocking them down every single fight. And we even saw the Genji at times as well, kind of into that mix. But yeah, what an execution on that Doomfist dive that I wonder if we'll see more of from them the rest of this season, depending on if, you know, the ridiculous patch notes are real. Well, that's not even a conversation we're going to have right now. You and I have talked about that off stream quite a bit on what that can do, but Flashpoint, it is more like Control for NYIT. Yeah. That's the hopeful thing here. You force the Ram and you just kind of put all your eggs in that basket.
Yeah, and it's I don't know, because if the Cybears force the Ramatra, I think Doomfist doesn't work particularly well kind of in that scenario. No. So you have to find like a comfortable middle ground of which you're okay with pushing out something like a Ramatra against Ramatra, which would throw us back to Samoa, which is our first map of the day, which is incredibly close, all the way to stage number 3. There's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts to be seen. Cammy could be coming in on the Winston, could go back to the Doomfist after a performance like that. You're definitely feeling confident on the Doomfist. So as Suravasa has become that map pick, it's a world of possibility. It really is. There could be a lot of value to be found for either of these teams, but I do think this is a dive-friendly map.
Yeah, it's definitely dive-friendly. If you run the Ramatra comp that you ran over on Samoa for NYIT, you can have the Cassidy for the nade to try and deny either flight or the punch, depending on who you're targeting. As Vortex as well, you have the counter punches available. Yes, you would be running Lucio Moira, which isn't the most ideal backline. Maybe you would swap Brig in there somewhere, but it is a potential comp, as it is some of these points a little more dive friendly, but most of them are rush friendly. But instead, it is neither or. It is the JQ comp being teased by both sides. Similar DPS, and the Lucio Kiri for the support line. The only difference right now is you got Bio still on that Soj. That's not a giant surprise, but it will be Doc on the Ashe, actually.
Doc on the Ashe, which we saw a little bit of last map from Rare, actually. So same team, different player, and the Junker Queen coming out here does indicate that both these teams want to get really up close and personal with their play styles. They want to get aggressive. They want to use that knife to pull somebody out of position, and NYIT right now taking a lot of damage from Staten Island. The knife is pulled. The shout is available, and still not going to be enough to keep Taeseon alive. Cammy does find that first blood in favor of Staten Island, but they may be traded out in just a moment unless Chung Yoon can get healed. Now it's going to be a 5v3 in favor of Staten Island. I think this fight's really over before we see NYIT even return it back to the fray.
Yeah, that fight just completely done. If you're NYIT, you just gotta hope that you don't lose anymore. And well, you already do. Grebka will be taken out by the Jagged Blade, and Staten Island. This is a start. If you're NYIT, you wanted this rush style. Yeah. That's why you went to this map, and you just got completely outplayed on the first side of the map.
Sometimes the outplays can be lethal, and with a little bit of value for Staten Island, it's going to go a long way. It's going to be 1 cap per, what was it, golly, 0.1% per 0.7 seconds, and that's actually about as long as that Junker Queen was just alive. 0.7 seconds, completely removed from the combat here. You've lost your tank. The fight's basically over with anything less than a miracle. Rare will fall as well. It's the same order they fell in fight number 1. Fight number 2 continues for that journey to come true. Cringe, the third player down. Staten Island, 80% on point number 1 of Flashpoint. And I mean, this team, they found their stride in Numbani. They have not dropped it for a second.
No, they have just kept on a running since they began their attack over in Numbani. First Flashpoint captured, and what a start. It will be the Hanzo and Doomfist now for NYIT. But like you said, Dentacion, when they tried to push in both of those fights, they went from max health to even with shout down to 50 within maybe a second. It was ridiculous, the focus fire coming in from CSI.
And there's definitely something to be said about NYIT choosing to swap onto faster characters but not going for the recon test, which I do think is the right call, but they also didn't know which point was going to be opening next, which forced them to fall a little bit slower, to move a little bit more cautiously into the second point, which Staten Island got to faster. It's going to be a Kitsune clash almost to a millisecond difference there, and with an unbelievable rampage through the line of NYIT, they're going to fall like dominoes here. It is an obliteration from Staten Island, who used 3 ultimates, 1 more than I think they needed to, but a fight win is a fight win regardless, especially when you look at the fact NYIT used 3 as well, so it's actually not as damning as it may seem.
Yeah, that was an Ajax on Cringe. It was Bioactive.
Oh, it was it?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah, it was a nice little Ajax reappearance here Bioactive landed the shot and everything just turned on its head during that fight. They will continue. They debated actually to swap over to the Brig and Ana, but they will actually decide to go right back.
Chung Yoon picks up 2 with the blade here in this fight. Again, should end in favor of Staten Island. NYIT force themselves onto the Doomfist swap. I really like the Cassidy swap we're seeing from Rare. It is going to be able to slow the Genji or the Lucio or the Junker Queen down a little bit, force them to stay into the combat and hinder them for just a little bit, but NYIT, I don't know. It's not even that Staten Island's really starting to do everything right. I feel like we are starting to get a sense of panic from the Cybears here. They're doing a lot of individual plays, not a lot of coordination, and that's actually been a comment we've made on them since the beginning of map number 1, is this deathmatch play style where they don't seem to be calling targets. They just seem to be trying to find any targets, and that's a really dangerous way to play, especially when it doesn't work out like this.
Yeah, and you can see right there, again, the focus fire from CSI has been the difference maker, as it will be a very quick 100-0 for the second time in a row. And the flashpoint, it's right here. It's not like they have to go very far. They have 30 seconds kind of just to hang out and wait for New York Tech to make a move. You got to think for the Cybears, you need to win this fight. Point blank, you need to win it.
You've got to win this fight quick, and the Cybears, they're not going to be able to find anything there with that Meteor Strike. Kitsune comes out from Grebka, but they lose their life just before they get the chance to use it. Rip SR drops the beat, which forces this Doomfist to recontest the point. Grebka had gone down to that boop with that Kitsune online. I was just about to call that Kitsune their win condition as well, so things all of a sudden are not looking A-okay. Rip does find 1, and it will be Bioactive going down to the blink of an eye. NYIT have the first opportunity in a long time to cap this point. A Sigma swap. It's late, but I do like it. I'm not going to lie. I think it's a valuable swap that could work pretty well for NYIT now, especially that they have point cap and should be playing some defense. They swap right back off of it, though, and now I'm just sad they gave up all that ult charge.
Yeah, it's a lot of ult charge to give away, and Sarah is actually the hero of that fight. They're able to get 2 kills and get a few extra low. I think Rip SR and Chungyun were both low by the time that Sarah died, and it's a nice little cleanup job from Cringe. It at least breathes them a little bit of life. They're on life support right now, but they're not flatlining just yet.
Not yet. Never say never. NYIT, Papa Kitsune rush very early on. They don't have any ultimates to kind of utilize with it, so they're going to rely on that increased fire rate and cooldown reduction as a whole. The blade from Ice Rare here could have been just around the corner, but they go for a bit of an overextension. They go to a hard defensive play here, and it could work out well. A Bio Nade is going to find 4 of them, but it looks like a Rampage. That makes way more sense. It's going to find 4 of them, but it looks like NYIT, even with that beat drop, are not going to be able to keep themselves on their NYI feet. They are going to be knocked clean off of them. NYIT going to be losing that point, but bright side, they've got to win just 1 more fight, and the odds of them being able to do so are pretty high with this overclock in pocket.
Yeah, if they can try and get an early pick with the overclock, especially before Rip SR is able to pop the sound barrier, if they have it at that point, that could be the way they can win this fight and keep this map going. But if not, you may be playing into CSI saying just a little bit too much.
CSI, only 1 ultimate to work with, but Bioactive just deleted from this Mortal Coil. They don't even get to participate in the fight. A great axe is going to be beaten by a better Suzu. Grebka keeping the team up and running here. Overclock does come out for the beat drop from Rip SR. Will not be Ajaxed here. Still might not be enough to keep that Junker Queen up. She's crit, but Cammy just can't make it out of the line of fire. Chong Yoon goes down, and just like that, NYIT have drastically increased, if not guaranteed, their chances of winning this 3rd stage of Flashpoint. It ain't over yet.
It's not over yet for New York Tech. Breathe a little bit of life into them, and they will win the 3rd Flashpoint, and now Staten Island will start making their way over, as should be Tentacion getting there first. But that was the kind of pick we saw a lot from Staten Island during Numbani, going in, getting that quick pick with the Doomfist, but this time it was Tentacion onto Bio, shutting down that pop-off potential from one of Staten Island's vets.
Action has been found here. A lot of space continues to be made on the side of NYIT. They want to get into this 4th point because that's exactly how they were able to win in that last lineup. I'm looking deep into the back line to see if that power does emerge victorious, but it's a 1-1 trade right off rip, and Staten Island maybe losing their Genji in the blink of an eye here. NYIT drops a beat here, cannot keep Grebka up, and Cringe will be able to keep this team alive, but for how long? The point is open, the fight is viable, it's an even one here, one support down on both sides. The next elimination should really dictate how these dominoes begin to tip, and Ice Rare will be the one to go down, which allows Staten Island to have an advantage, even more so now as Lord Tentacion has disappeared. Doc goes down, Staten Island back on top. Can they keep the energy moving through?
That's the question. Like you said, it was both Lucio's going down early, both overclocks, not really getting a whole lot done. But it will be eventually Staten Island with the fight win. They have the blade to work off of. It's 25 to sound barrier from Rip SR. They have that advantage over Cringe, who may not get it until that next fight.
Oh, hold on. My feed just disappeared for some reason. Okay, I'm back. The blade is going to be coming out from Ice Rare. It does not have a nano behind it, but it does have a Kitsune Rush. Grebka gives their life for a noob as well. It's a 3-for-1 trade. Let's make it a 4-for-2 trade in favor of Staten Island. They lose their tank and their support, but Chung Yoon basically fills the role of the tank. Goes for, I believe, an ace, if not 4 of those eliminations, and that play alone may have just guaranteed a victory for Staten Island here tonight. Maybe Lord Tentacion gets to touch one more time, but it's going to be a close call regardless.
Yeah, 4 kills there from Chung Yoon, 1 from Rip SR, stealing away the ace. There will be able to be a touch from Cringe and Tentacion, but now will they actually be able to make anything from this, and the sound barrier is still here.
Oh, Rip SR does get it off in time, keeping Cammy alive. This is possibly the final fight. Can Doc find anything with this overclock? It's going to be Ice Rare that finds one. Doc does go down to Chung Yoon as well. Both these Genji's critical condition, but Grebka has fallen. Cringe not far behind, and this should be the beginning of the end for Staten Island. Things are going to be falling apart at the blink of an eye here. NYIT is going to emerge with a loss, unfortunately, and Staten Island will emerge victorious. A wonderful performance from them here. NYIT kept it close every single game, but unfortunately, close only going to count in horseshoes and hand grenades.
Yeah, it seemed like they maybe had a chance during that fight, but they just never get the beat down. They feel like they're trying to play for their life a little bit too much, and it just doesn't happen. As CSI, they keep this perfect map record going that they've had going, I think, since last spring, which is ridiculous.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time since Staten Island's lost a map. Even though they got close in map 1, I think they made the adjustments, though, after that. Numbani on their attack was nearly flawless.
Yeah.
And on Flashpoint, it was just, other than that one Flashpoint where NYIT, I think, got their bearings a little bit, this was all Staten Island.
It was a lot of great performance from Staten Island, which is not a surprise. They continue to be one of, if not the best team in the ECC. This is exactly the performance we expect from them in NYIT. They're getting closer. Those maps are really strong. And Samoa, as I mentioned, is the newest map, so I think that's why it was the most level playing field. They didn't have exact compositions. They didn't have exact strategies to be played, but they won it regardless, and now they will walk away with a 3-0 victory here tonight, which is the end of our Overwatch here on Esports U tonight. But ECAC League of Legends Ole Miss versus SUNY Canton will be going head-to-head at 8 p.m. here on this exact channel, so feel free to come back in just a little bit for that. But thank you guys for joining us for Overwatch so far. We love each and every one of you. Check your posture, drink some water, don't forget to love each other, and enjoy League of Legends in just a bit.